The week before Donald Trump's inauguration, I did a series on his major campaign promises and visited Tijuana, Mexico to look into his pledge to deport millions of undocumented people. How long had you lived in the United States?
29 years.
29 years?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been in Mexico?
3 weeks.
These guys are watching American TV. So what'd you do? You said you got caught. What'd you do?
I got deported 4 months ago for, it was a misdemeanor, drunk in public.
The people I met in Tijuana had been deported by President Obama, who back then held the record for the most deportations by a president. More than 3.5 years later, it looks as if he still will, when you compare President Obama's first term to President Trump's. Immigration activists say one reason President Trump hasn't been able to deport more people than President Obama is some localities are ending the practice of handing over undocumented inmates to ICE after they serve their time, including Los Angeles County Jail, the world's largest. That's where I met Sheriff Alex Villanueva, who in August made permanent a ban on transfers of inmates to ICE.
Those two are going to be released. They get fingerprinted.
And under the new rules, your new rules here, with ICE out of the jail system, even if they're undocumented, they're still good to go.
They're still good to go.
Why now did you make this decision?
We have the nation's largest concentration of undocumented people in LA County, over 1 million right here in LA County. So I cannot have those people afraid to call the police. I need them to report being a victim of crime, being a witness to a crime.
During Obama's first term, LA County got the most requests to transfer inmates being released to immigration custody. Those detainer requests dropped in a second term, and despite a brief uptick under Trump, his numbers are only a fraction of Obama's. And with ICE now entirely out of LA County jails, that number may drop further.
There used to be a big TV screen here, had the name of every inmate, the charge, and everything. And so ICE was here in uniform.
Pick them out, fish in a barrel?
Yep, like fishing in a barrel. And so when I got here, December of 2018, this was my first stop on the job. And I saw the ICE agents here, and I said, that's it. They need to leave.
Twice since our tour of the jail, ICE has staged high-profile raids across the country, including in Los Angeles, arresting over 100. But President Trump is still a long way away from his goal of deporting millions. And from inside ICE's former office in LA County Jail, you understand why.
It's sad that we participated in that for so long.
When you look at Obama being criticized for being the deporter-in-chief, this had to contribute to those numbers.
Yes, this was part of it. Yes, definitely.
NBC News correspondent Jacob Soboroff joins us now. Jacob, the pandemic has also had an impact on deportations. ICE raids were on hold. They resumed in September. Has that played a role in the number of deportations under President Trump? And have any tactics changed since the pandemic started?
Well, for sure, the pandemic has affected the amount of enforcement actions, interior removals, what have you, because ICE paused them during this beginning of the pandemic. But that's not the determinative factor. If you look at the first 3 years of this administration, those numbers are way down year over year under the Obama administration. It's these cooperation initiatives with local law enforcement that cops backed out of, basically, after pressure from immigration activists during the Obama administration. The irony is here, this inability for President Trump to keep this campaign promise is local entities, local jurisdictions, sanctuary jurisdictions, backing down from the signature Obama-era cooperation initiative on immigration enforcement with localities.
Jacob, immigration's still a campaign issue in 2020. In fact, in Pennsylvania, we've seen these billboards popping up. Acting DHS Secretary Wolf, who was there last week, says they are images of undocumented immigrants who were released by sanctuary jurisdictions. How do tactics like that play into all of this?
Yeah, just looking at them, immigration activists call them terrorization tactics to terrorize immigrant communities and conflate violent criminals, which, frankly, I've not vetted any of those images. I don't know who any of those people are, with the larger undocumented immigrant population. Many people who are transferred from local jails to ICE are done so after not being convicted of any crime and just being released. Some of them are arrested and then later deported after committing minor offenses like being drunk in public, like the gentleman in the report that you just aired. So the way that immigration activists see those billboards is, again, an effort to influence and scare an undocumented immigrant community. ICE obviously says they have to do this because local law enforcement is not cooperating. But you heard the sheriff in the report say cooperating with the federal government on detainers and deportations makes communities less safe because undocumented immigrants are less likely to report a crime.
All right, Jacob Soboroff, thank you.
Thanks to coronavirus, the U.S. is in the middle of an economic crisis. It's a top issue heading into Election Day, of course, and Democratic nominee Joe Biden says he is uniquely qualified to fix it.
Look, we inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
So does Biden's rhetoric around this issue match the reality? Let's take a look.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
The month President Obama took office, January 2009, the U.S. economy lost 800,000 jobs. Unemployment was inching toward 8%. It was the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. To try to stop the bleeding, Congress passed a stimulus package. The person in charge of implementing it, then Vice President Joe Biden.
I also want to thank Joe Biden for working behind the scenes from the very start to make this Recovery Act possible.
Last year, our economy lost 3 million jobs, 600,000 more just this last month. We're here today to start to turn that around.
Now, the Recovery Act was an $800 billion package. It included tax cuts, expanded unemployment support, infrastructure projects, and some Democratic priorities like green jobs. Here's what Joe Biden said about it at the time.
If we do everything right, we do it with absolute certainty. We stand up there and we make really tough decisions. There's still a 30% chance we're going to get it wrong.
Now, mostly it went right. Jobs rebounded, and the U.S. experienced the longest period of economic growth in its history. Biden also defended the auto bailout of 2009 when it wasn't so popular.
1 million good jobs are at stake. On the assembly line, at the parts factories, at the automobile dealerships.
Of course, there are criticisms. The recovery was slow. The labor force participation rate never really recovered to pre-recession levels. Wage growth also stayed stubbornly low. And the administration faced criticism from those who thought they moved on from the recession too quickly to push through the Affordable Care Act. Still, Biden says he'll take lessons from that recovery and apply it to the next one.
What I found was you have to manage it every single day. For the better part of that 18 months, I was literally on the phone at least 3 to 4 hours a day with my team talking about the detailed implementation.
So President Trump is also running on his economic record.
I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
A strong economy, jobs gains, and a soaring stock market were Trump's signature accomplishment.
So we built the greatest economy in history.
That was before the pandemic. He points to his tax cuts and deregulation as driving the economy. But GDP growth was only slightly better under Trump versus Obama's second term. And President Trump's job gains were mostly a continuation in pace from the Obama administration. Now, those gains are wiped out. The pandemic triggered 22 million job losses. As of now, only about half of those jobs have come back. And the White House and Congress remain at odds on another round of aid.
And now we're reopening, and we're doing record business.
Joe Biden says the economy wouldn't be in such bad shape if the federal response to COVID had been better.
You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis.
Now, polls show Americans trust President Trump more than Joe Biden when it comes to the economy. But the question remains, who will voters pick to get the job done come November?
Allison, I'm standing in the California sunshine of Santa Cruz, which has a very lucky, mystical feeling almost. I mean, we see people, rolling up to go surfing at the break right here. Guy went by on a unicycle a moment ago. But this has been an incredibly hard year for this county, as it has for so many counties. I mean, there's the pandemic, of course, but then a 90,000-acre fire swept through the hills near here, displacing thousands of people. And if you lose your home, you've lost your mailbox, which means you've lost the ballot that you got mailed. As a result, what are you going to do? Well, you come to the Vote-mobile. The Santa Cruz County Clerk has put out this mobile polling station that can do everything that an election office can do. If you need a Spanish ballot, if you need a replacement ballot, if you want to be on one of the tablets that you see people voting on, behind me, you can do all of that in this place. With 169,000 registered voters, the county clerk told us that this really just couldn't be more important.
Something I've always wanted to have, having that mobility of being able to take voting where the voters are, where they live, where they go to shop. And so I've always wanted to do this. And then the pandemic came, and I thought we need to be flexible. We need to be able to provide voting anywhere, regardless of anything. So we got some grant money, and we were able to purchase this vote-mobile, and it's super cute with the red, white, and blue. You can see us a mile away, and it makes voting fun.
Allison, when you consider that 169,000 registered voters are prepared to drop a ballot this election cycle, that's a record for Santa Cruz County. You look at how hard it has been to vote elsewhere in the country. Here, those voters have 15 ballot boxes in this county, plus their normal polling places on November 3rd, plus the vote-mobile. And it just shows you just how seriously this particular California county is taking voting this year, Allison.